The following podcast contains adult themes and adult language. Listener discretion advised.
And although we joke, if you or someone you know is affected by or a victim of domestic violence, dial 1-800-799-7233 or visit the National Domestic Violence Hotline's website, thehotline.org.
But it's always the husband, it's always the husband, it's always the husband. I don't keep bed.
Hi, everybody. This is Sarah.
And this is Megan.
And you're listening to It's Always the Husband podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you for listening. And
Thanks for being here. This is a true crime podcast where we talk about murders, and we are not researchers. We only watch one show, if that, and we
we comment on that show that has the crime and how that show put the crime together.
Right.
Meaning, how did they hire their actors? How did they represent said crime?
This one didn't even have any actors.
No, and it kind of left out some stuff.
Okay,
that I'm going to put in.
Oh my God, you did some research?
Did. Kind of.
Ladies and gentlemen, this never happens.
It never does.
And by gentlemen, I mean two of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're not our husbands.
They might not like puss either.
They sure don't. So we like to start our show off with some of the things that just get us through the week. If you haven't listened, we have kind of shitty lives sometimes because we're menopausal, we're old, we're fat, we don't take care of ourselves at all, we drink too much, so these are just some things that help get us through the week. We call them our glitter in the shitter.
Yes.
What's your gets for this week?
The show Mobland.
I don't know about this.
No, you wouldn't, of course.
Okay.
But it's on it's on Paramount Plus. So you have to get Paramount Plus.
Okay.
But if you were watching Yellowstone and all that nonsense, you would have it.
Yeah.
But it's with Tom Hardy, Pierce Brosnan. What's her name from 1923? The British.
Yep. Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren. Patty Constantine. I think he was in House of Dance or Dragons.
What? That's three different shows you just said.
Yeah.
Dances with Wolves, Dragons, and House of Cards.
Yes.
Which
he's in the Dragons Game of Thrones Dragons show, the second one.
What?
The house
they made a dragon show?
Well, they have about the Targaryens. That's the second the show that's the spinoff.
Oh Jesus! I didn't watch any of the other one.
But
either.
the Mobland's really, really good. It's like a soapy mob
land.
Yes,
it's like a mob.
But it's just about this mob family, and like Pierce Brosnan and Helen Mirren are like the heads of this mob.
It's a
family.
show or a movie?
It's a show. No, it's a show. It's like a weekly show.
Oh, I thought it was a movie.
No, it's just a show.
Seen previews for it or something.
And so they're like the head of this one mob family in London, and Tom Hardy is their fixer. Like when shit goes wrong, they send Tom Hardy to like go fix it
because he's so cute.
Yeah,
he fixes everything.
Yeah, and if someone doesn't listen to him, he like beats him up and stuff. Like he's a scary mob fixer,
but a cute one.
And he is.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another mob family, and they like try not to fight. But they fight.
Does that mob family have any famous people or good-looking people in it? No. So there's the good-looking mob family,
right?
And
very
the
good-looking one, and the uglies.
Okay,
it's handsome versus uglies.
Very
much
land.
So in London.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay,
and you can't understand what any of them are saying, so you have to watch with subtitles.
Oh no.
Yeah. Because their accents go way too fast for me.
Well, my house always has subtitles because I have a deaf son. So,
but it's so good. You'll watch one and then you'll have to catch up and watch all the rest.
It's
really
never
good.
Watch it because I can't watch adult shows. So because my children are
tell them to fuck off.
Like flu, and then if I ever get a second, my husband's watching some stupid show. And then I'd have to leave and go to another TV. And that seems hard. Anyway, I just read my books. My glitter and my shitter was I've had my, you all know I like to make hot dishes and recipes because I'm from Minnesota. And by the way, we are marked safe from tornadoes. One didn't even come close to us.
It was nothing. We were told we were going to die the whole day.
Yeah.
It was nothing.
Nothing. And then when like at 4:00, they were like, everyone, you might die now. And then it like got a little bit windy.
Mm-hmm. There was one moment where I was like, oh, and then it was over in like 2 minutes.
Yeah. I was like, hey, maybe one of my dead ash trees will fall on my house and I'll get a new roof out of it.
That would be heaven.
But nothing even came close to that. There were tornadoes in southern Minnesota by my old house. And in this district that I used to teach in Fairmont, there was a tornado. And there was one by Mankato, I think, but my daughter was like in somebody's garage drinking beer.
Of course, she was.
Me. So I think one was fine. Anyway, because I'm Minnesotan, I tried the Ritz cracker hot dish that I feel like a lot of people eat this. Have you ever eaten this?
Absolutely not.
But I thought I was going to try it. So I bought a bunch of Costco chicken breasts and I made them in the Instapot, and then I chopped it up and I put sour cream of chicken soup, some herbs, just herbs, some garlic powder and onion powder and garlic salt and pepper. And then you put butter and crushed Ritz crackers together. And you put that on the top and you bake it. And it was delicious.
That's good to know.
I put corn in it because I like a little vegetable in my casserole. I feel like you could put mixed vegetables in it too, but my family are crazy and they hate peas.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a pea fan either.
Those are my favorites, but they won't eat them. So I just put a can of corn in it.
A can of corn.
And it was so good. And Rory was like, oh my God, this is good.
Whoa.
Who knew? So I'll put the
That's
recipe
good to know. And it seems cute.
I mean, honest to God, you can just look up Ritz cracker and chicken hot dish because there's like 1,000 different recipes and they're all pretty much the same. But try it. You might like it. And if your kids are picky, apparently they like
kids
it
would
too.
eat it.
Yeah.
Cute. Before we move on, we do have a new Patreon named Crystal McPherson.
What?
Crystal,
like Crystal Carrington.
And Crystal Carrington.
She wears sexy perfume for Blake.
Crystal Carrington was the secretary that married the boss, right? And then Alexis Carrington came in and said, whore. And then they would fight and slap the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
But Crystal, thank you so much. I just ordered a shit ton of all of our stickers are coming.
Yay.
So I finally have them all. And then I'll order Betty White stamps. And everybody will get their stuff.
I can't wait.
But I did order like tons of stickers. Finally.
Okay.
And then we have a Facebook group and we pick funny fuckers out of there. I liked one.
What one is it?
I liked Ashley Maxwell McClelland. She informed us that Dr. Now from My 600-Pound Life does have stickers for sale. You can get stickers that say, who is the enabler? And you're sneaking the food, because that's what they do a lot. You're not 700 pound of water. No. Why you eat so much? And you put these stickers on your fridge, and it should help you. The scale does not lie. People lie.
I need one on my hand, on both
You have
hands.
1 month to lose 30 pounds. Oh, look. Here come the tears. That's all he says to him in there. And he shreds them in the office. Tell me about the eating habit.
I liked the one where
who the enabler
when he ripped on that guy and said, "What's going on with your personal hygiene?" Remember?
I got the people out there puking from the smell. Do you look like you're malnourished?
No.
That's one of them.
Yeah.
Kathy just shreds these people. You could easily lose 30 pounds 1 month.
Yeah.
You're not going to starve.
No. He's brutal.
Yeah. No excuse for lack of progress. Yep, that's right.
Well, if these people want the surgery, they gotta lose the weight first, right?
They have to show that they are serious about changing their eating habits. And he makes them go to therapy because he knows that their eating is a result of the extreme trauma these bitches faced. And they talk about their childhood trauma, and it's horrific sometimes. And so food is their comfort, because food isn't beating the shit out of them.
No.
And I mean,
Makes
my
them
God.
feel good.
Yes. So he knows they have to go see therapy too, but he gives them extremely tough love.
Yeah. I feel like those organizing shows, I guess they kind of stopped doing the hoarders shows because I think they realized like these people aren't just messy people. It's all
they're severely mentally ill.
Yeah. Trauma and
oh my God, they're all extremely traumatized from childhood, mentally ill people that you're not going to clean up their house in one day and it's going to end the whole thing.
No.
But the other one was Shannon Jensen did have the Scottish guy you can follow. But he does say, like, gentlemen, the female freaks are not in the club. They are at the library because women do read a lot of real filth. And that is the truth. But it doesn't mean we want a man to stand anywhere around us or next to us in any way.
You just want to imagine one up.
Right. A handsome man, not a real man standing next to us. Good God, no.
Speaking of horrible men and them being disgusting, my Facebook funny was from Erica Key or Erica Kia. It's Kea. But she had a meme that says, if women wrote about men the way that men write about women.
That was good.
I like it because it's book club night tonight. So I was thinking about literature. He sighed, his medium-sized balls bobbing in his jeans like buoys in a sea of denim, rising and falling with his breath. They were not the firm, boisterous nuts of a young man. He lamented this as much as the years lost. Take that.
Gross, saggy,
quit talking about
balls.
Our saggy boobs if we can't talk about your disgusting balls.
Yeah. Ish. So gross.
Thanks, Erica.
Yeah. We appreciate it. Okay. This episode, what the outside research I did was listening to a podcast that I listened to that Nutbar also listens to. So we both usually will religiously listen, called The Minds of Madness. And this was one, it stuck out. One, it's very similar to last week's case that we did.
Yeah.
And
because it involved a car.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a scene that doesn't quite match the story in any way, if you actually looked at it, looked it up and looked at it. Two, as the husband was speaking, I'll get into it more. No, this was a podcast, so I couldn't see anything. The husband was speaking for a good 5 minutes, and I thought it was like the best friend, the lady best friend of the wife. I was very shocked when I realized it was the husband. So the husband's a high talker. I thought the husband was a woman for a good 5 minutes. Is
on
what I'm
the
saying. Yes.
podcast.
Yes. So the husband in the story, it has a woman's voice.
I did not. Maybe it was because I only saw it first.
I sent you the podcast. It said you had to listen.
But I had already watched it.
No, but if you listened to how he speaks, just straight speaking, it's a straight. It you know what? God bless him. And not really. I thought it was a man.
God bless him. Okay.
So I just thought this guy is, there's something off. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there was something off. Anyway, so this was also 48 Hours called Mystery on County
County Road M.
And it takes place in La Crosse, Wisconsin.
It does, which is near us.
It is near us, and I've been there a few times.
It's a lovely river town.
Sure. Yeah.
And there's a college there that's
there
lots
is.
of fun.
I've had friends go to that college.
Couple colleges, yep.
Yeah. They had the world's biggest six-pack for a while, didn't they? Or do they still?
I don't know.
Beer?
They have a party. They have an Oktoberfest party every year that's like giant. And people just get hammered and play Hammerschlagen.
Oh, shit.
And wander around the city.
Yeah, that sounds about right, too.
Yeah.
So we're going to... this story's about Taahd and Beerb Kendhammer.
Yes.
Taahd and Barb. So Taahd and Barb have been married 25 years at this point. So that's a long-ass time. They had just had their 25th anniversary party. They actually have 2 kids. Their 2 kids are named Jessica and Jordan.
They went with the double J's.
Yep. And I just... Does Todd have a... okay. They said in the Minds of Madness podcast, they said these 2 actually were born like months apart, like right.
Who are you talking about? Todd and Barb?
Taahd and Barb.
Yeah, okay.
And they grew up like really close together. Well, obviously both in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Went to the same high school, but they didn't know each other, didn't date. But I think they met in high school. Todd was immediately friend zoned because Barb was dating someone else. And then I just like, was Todd a cheerleader? I don't know. Todd, you look at Todd and he put a wig on him. And he looks like a gal. And I mean, and that's okay. But I mean, just, I think he had some issues he had to sort out too. Anyway, Todd, so Todd was friend zoned instantly because Beerb was dating some other guys. And then Barb dumped the guy and Todd slipped right in.
He did. He did not slip in her DMs because those did not exist.
No.
Because it was the 90s.
Well, it was before that even, I think.
Oh, I
don't
thought
know.
it was like 90. I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, I don't know.
I thought Barb.
No, they're like, Barb was
hot.
Very attractive.
She was hot as a younger
Absolutely
woman,
a piece
and
of
hot
pie.
as an older
she
woman.
was hot. And then there was Todd. I wasn't sure if Todd was...
He didn't match her energy at all.
Todd, I felt maybe wasn't born a Todd.
I know you said that, and then when I watched it, I was like, "What is she talking about?
How can you not look at this and see it?"
I did not
look up his picture.
I did. He had some feminine features. He just
you listen to his voice. I swear to God,
like a chubby round.
If you listen to this podcast and listen to his voice, you will be. Even Jamie, I said, "Is this the husband?" And he said, "No." And then when it was, he went, "Oh my God." It's a high talker. And that's, I mean, again, that's okay. But I just thought maybe that's the reason. Yeah. But I don't think it was. Anyway, which is fine. Beerb was a middle school lunch lady. Mm-hmm. And Ted had he worked for a glass company, and then he was flipping houses, and then he was replacing windshields, and then he was working something else. But he must have done okay because they showed their house, and their house was like a kick-ass house.
Yeah, they said they were like well-to-do.
Yeah, it was a beautiful house on this big, huge acreage. Right? I mean, their house was gorgeous. So they were living the life in this country, and everything looked great. But in the Minds of Madness podcast, this is how Todd would describe their life. Todd would say, in his very feminine voice, he said he would take Beerb to work every morning. he would take his breaks when he knew Beerb had her breaks and call Barb or text Barb's every break. And then he would call Beerb again if she had a break. And then he would pick up Beerb from work. They would take a walk together after work. She would make a supper or dinner because she's a great cook. And then they would take another walk. And then they would watch TV and go to bed. And that was their routine every day. And Barb was a clean freak. So she didn't like piss around the toilet, he said. So she made him sit down to piss for 25 years, and he did. And any other male who came in the house had to sit down to piss. I'm sure they didn't. When he would go camping, he would miss Barb with the guys, which I don't think ever happened. But he would go camping. He would come home and stay with Barb at night.
Well, no one wants to camp.
Men don't want to come home to their wives when they're camping with their guy friends. He'd go camping with his guy friends and come home to his wife at night and stay and then go back during the day to his deer camp or whatever you call it.
Everyone said they were really in love.
Well, apparently not. And if Jamie went off to camp or off to hunt for the weekend,
I know,
and came home every night, I'd be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Get the
Right?
fuck out of here!"
Yeah.
That's weird. And stop calling me all day at work. What am I supposed to talk to you about? Jesus Christ!
She's trying to make mashed potatoes and a taco bar for the kids.
Yeah, well,
she doesn't have time to talk.
No kidding. So I mean, it sounded like he was checking on every single minute of her time.
Yeah.
And controlling every single minute of her time. And then coming home and checking on her and never letting her be alone at any moment. And that was him just describing that. Like, and then they would always be what they were doing is he was going with her. What they were doing on this Friday morning.
Right.
Is he described in the podcast that they go to this craft. Beerb goes to this craft fair. He had to go with. And so they would set up their camp because to get a good campsite, you had to set up the week before. And so they set up the week before and he would go with her. And so they were going this Friday morning to go to their campsite for the craft fair. So Barb had to work. And so this morning on September 16th in 2016, this morning, though, first, as we learn in the podcast, too, and in the 48 hours, there was this other guy, this fellow, who was late to his construction job. And he is also driving on County Road M. And he's in a truck. So he's like 3 minutes late to his job. He's supposed to be there at 8. It's like 8:03, something like that, 8:02.
Story of my life.
Yes.
I haven't even left the house yet.
He drives down County M, and he sees like a sedan car. It's in the ditch. The back tires are like in the ditch, and the front tires are kind of like pointing to the road. Like it just reversed into the ditch. He drives by and he's thinking, oh shit, maybe I should stop and help these people get out of the ditch.
But I'm late.
Yeah. He said, I'm also late, but he looks, and the car is totally intact and the passenger door is open. And he's slow. He said he's going like 5 miles per hour, if that. And he looks in the car. No one's in the car. He looks around the car. He can't see anyone on either side of the car. And he's like, well, maybe they walk somewhere. I don't fucking know. And so he just kept going and he goes to work. And it wasn't until 4 days later, the police come and ask him for his story. So what is happening at this spot at 8:05?
Very odd.
It's very odd. So he has gone to work. This guy's to work. At 8:05, the same car that is in the ditch, 911 is called. Okay, so what has happened in this car is Taahd and Barb. Todd was in this car driving Barb to work like he usually does, but Barb was supposed to be at work at 8. And she did not call in late, which she would have done any other time she would have been late. And she was late not being there at 8. She also had missed calling her mother in the morning.
Which she never
does. So there's already something going on concerning Barb. But everyone's not quite aware yet.
Right.
So it's 8:05. It's in the ditch. What Todd ends up saying they were doing is Todd says he was going to find a blue truck, not exactly sure who it belongs to and where it is, but they were going to drive around County M and County PQRS and try to find a blue truck so he could take it home and then Beerb could drive to school. Well, drop her off at work first,
right,
and then do this shit
whole
or something. None of that makes any fucking sense.
So weird.
So that already is fucked, that part. So then what Todd says is they're driving on County M, and he's trying to look for this fucking truck. And then another, like a great big flatbed semi or something like this, drives the opposite on County M. So they're going one way, this big ass semi, flatbed truck, whatever, it comes the other way, and a pipe flies off the truck and somehow moves through the air forward, which wouldn't happen. It would go back, like behind the truck. It wouldn't move in the air forward, but he says it moves forward towards their car because their car's going the opposite direction. A pipe would fall off the truck and go behind the truck. Mm-hmm. So if they were behind the truck, this would make more sense instead of in front of the truck driving towards the truck. But the pipe somehow bounces forward through the air. And Tad says he's thinking, what's this flying toward me? A bird? And he says, I punched my hand straight to the windshield. And this is how he described it too in the podcast to the police.
Right.
My instinct was to punch the windshield. And the guy in the Minds of Madness says, do any of you in your right mind, if you see a bird coming at your car, your instinct is to stretch out your hand and punch into your windshield? No. No one does that. But Todd said that's what he did. He punched into the windshield. But that did nothing because that's the dumbest thing ever. Mm-hmm. The pipe then goes to the windshield and conks Barb on the head. Bunk! Gonk! And he says, Beerb starts flailing. And so and he's like, I try to help her, but I put the car in reverse. Okay. And then I end up in the ditch. He also has the worst Wisconsin accent you've ever heard in your life.
Right.
So he says, and then I put the car in reverse after I seen it hit Barb, and we end up in the ditch. And then he's saying how he's trying to describe how the pipe is somehow wrapped up in Barb, and he runs around. He gets out of the car, runs around trying to open the car door, and he can't open the car door because it's stuck or slippery or something. And it's either in the podcast, he's saying like it took a long time for him to somehow get the car door open because the pipe was somehow blocking the car door. And Barb was wrapped up in the pipe. He sometimes gets Barb out.
Because the pipe was like a snake.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Yeah.
He gets Barb out, and he sees Barb is bloody. Something's going on. So he tries to give her 911. And that's when he calls 911.
He gives her 911.
He gives her CPR. He gives her the what for? That's not an inappropriate time, Todd. It's an inappropriate time. So he calls 911 at this point.
Yes.
And it's like 8:05-ish to when the police arrive, like 15 or something. So when the police arrive, you actually can see the scene because they have their dumbass cameras on, body cameras. Mm-hmm. Barb is just laying flat on the ground, and they're like treating her, putting her in like a stretcher, treating her, CPR. Right. Todd is covered. His shirt is like full of her blood. They show his knuckles. His knuckles are literally ripped open and bloody. He has fresh bloody scratch marks on his neck and his face, which is odd.
The neck was weird.
All on the side of his neck were fresh, in his cheek, fresh bloody scratch marks, quite a bit. And when you look at the windshield, there was no way that the pipe that was 53 inches and about 10 pounds, there was no blood on the pipe. The pipe, Todd tells them, because the police say, well, let's get this pipe. And Todd says repeatedly, I got it. I pulled it out of the windshield. I pulled it out of the windshield. And I put it on the floor, ground. It's next to the car. I pulled it out of the windshield. It's next to the car. But then he starts describing like how he can't open the door because the pipe is in the car, blocking Barb's way of getting out. But at the scene, he's saying it was just stuck right in the windshield and he had to pull it out from the windshield.
Which I never understood the whole time. I don't give a fuck where the pole is. Why is he pulling it out in the first place?
Because it was never in there.
It wasn't like it was impaling her.
No, it was never in the car. You look at the hole in the windshield, that pipe couldn't even go through there. That's not even a hole that his hand could go through there.
I didn't get it.
There are 3 marks on the windshield. 2 of them aren't holes, and one has a tiny breakage where the circumference is not even anywhere near where this pipe could go through. And they're all from the outside.
I wonder if I could get a picture of it to show on Facebook of what it looked like.
You look at that and you're like, dude, your story is bullshit. Because one of the holes is from the outside. You literally see the outline of his bloody knuckles. You can see where
blood
he punched the first time. It didn't go through. He punched the second time. It probably went through, and that's where he cut to shit his knuckles. And he punched the third time, and he left all the bloody knuckles because he had to figure out, how am I going? What can I do to say what happened to Barb? The pipe then did not have any of Barb's blood or DNA or anything on it. But what it did have on it was sand and grass and material that was found exactly matching all of the material in Tad's trunk. So he was carrying this pipe around. It was in his trunk. He just pulled it out. I got to figure out something that fucking went through the windshield.
I don't think they said this on the 48 hours.
They did on the podcast.
Okay.
Because on the podcast,
never said that
48 hours didn't say shit because they were kind of saying he was. They were kind of on his side.
Questioning the
because
story.
In the 48 hours, you hear from the 2 children, Jessica and Jordan, because they are on his side. I don't blame them. It's hard when your dad's accused of this and your mom is dead. But the police in this scene are very much opposite last week, except for the one guy. They look at the scene and they're all like, this doesn't match anything he's telling us right now.
Right.
They were very much on high alert. They videotaped everything.
Because it was just so weird.
It was very weird, and he was acting very weird. If you watch it, you can see
it was
how
crazy.
Creepy and weird he's acting, and in his high voice. And his terrible Wisconsin accent. And his very ruby red lips. He has very beautiful...
I can't believe you're
ruby red lips
making fun of his Wisconsin accent.
His Wisconsin accent was terrible.
Oh.
So he is literally covered in bloody scratches, blood on his shirt. But she said, okay.
Also, he was wearing a shirt that said, I don't give a rat's ass.
Yes, he's wearing a typical Wisconsin outfit, which is a goofy t-shirt and shitty shorts. Todd also keeps saying, I got the pipe, I pulled it out. Why would you waste time pulling the pipe out of the windshield if it was in there? It doesn't make sense.
No.
But that story, again, changes. So they rush Barb in an ambulance to the hospital, but they take Todd in a police car, and they keep everything running, the videotape, everything, and they're asking him all these questions. You know, what happened? What were you doing that day? And that's where also in the podcast, he runs that whole thing. Everything that he's saying, the police are just kind of like, oh, yeah, and they're letting him just talk and talk and talk. And they're like, whose truck were you trying to get to? And he says this friend's name. They're like, oh, did he know you were coming? Oh, he said a while back he needed the windshield, so I was going to go, and get it, and we are going to switch out the keys. That's what we do. That's what I do. And they got him to talk a lot about that as they get to Barb, as they're going to the hospital. They also are kind of noticing why. So Barb was with you. You're driving the opposite way from her school. And they're like, yeah, she was coming with. I drive her to, he's getting him to comment and all these things like, why are you driving Barb to work, but going in the opposite way of her work? She's not calling in late. She wasn't making her call in the morning. I mean, she was
Super
already
weird.
fucking a bloody mess at that point. That's why. And he was figuring out, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to fake a car accident. That's why he was driving around all this place. But anyway, they rush to the hospital. They try to get the family there. Barb was hanging on to life, and he was freaking the fuck out because he kept saying, I need to see her. I need to see her. I need to see her. Is she talking? And stuff like that. And they're like, sir, like, she's in the ICU. We're trying to save her life.
Right.
Just settle down. But she had such severe brain swelling and trauma to her head that she dies in the morning. I mean, just
they knew she was like brain dead, basically.
Jesus. I mean,
because then they donated her organs, right? Yeah.
Which is a very good thing, but you'd rather have your mom,
Yeah.
Oh,
of course.
So the autopsy, the ME was like, what the hell? And I don't know if they described it better on the podcast, but her nose was not just broken, but like shattered. Her face was hit so hard. There were lacerations on her face. And like we talked about in one podcast before, like her eyes were pooling with blood. She had those raccoon eyes. Like there's so much blood around her eyes. It was like black, but not bruised. It was blood. Because her face was hit so hard. There were 3 huge lacerations on the back of her head. But like where your neck back of your head. Yeah. Right at the bottom part of your skull there. So how is she so hit in the front? I think the pipe conked her in the front to get that such beating in her front of her nose and eyes. But then how does she have her back of her head ripped open? But then her cricoid, what is that bone?
Yeah.
Was broken in her neck. Cricoid
in her neck
was broken. And then she also had bruises just all over her body. Like she was beaten. And so it was blunt force trauma. And she said right away, this is a homicide. I mean,
yeah, because
it doesn't match his story. And then you look at the car. There is not much blood at all in the car where her seat is. Right. Unlike last week where the car was soaked in blood.
Right.
But there was blood outside of the car. And there was blood on the wheel well. So he was wondering, like, they were thinking, was her head at the last moment then, was he hitting her head on the wheel well? Because to get the lacerations in the back? Because there was blood on that. But the thing Barb never left the house without, which I said in the podcast as well, was like
her mascara. Oh, no.
And a 55-gallon drum.
It was like a water cup. It was
bottle.
A bubbler. And
yes,
I really
but it was like 54 ounce.
It was it had a mug.
Big ass mug, but it was stainless steel.
Yep.
And they think, could Todd have used that to beat her? But I don't think so. When they took pictures of it wasn't bloody or anything. And he wouldn't wash it off and like bring it with.
You wouldn't think so.
So that wasn't bloody. The pipe wasn't bloody. I mean, there really isn't like a murder weapon that's there, obviously. So in the hospital, because of Todd's behavior, because of what his story is nonsense,
And
doesn't
already
match what
told
they're
them
seeing.
2 different stories.
He's told them 2 different stories.
By the time he got to the police house.
Yep. And by the time they find that witness who in the morning drove by the truck just 3 minutes before he called 911 and saw that the windshield was intact and there were 2 people not in the car, they realized
no one was in the car when he drove by.
So what they think
this whole thing is so weird.
was Todd was holding her down in the grass so that she wouldn't yell out if she was still able to. And then he might have hit her head on the wheel well at that point to knock her unconscious.
Oof.
And then the question was, could he in 3 minutes try to punch the windshield and set up that pipe? And yes, 3 minutes is a long time to do. I mean, his knuckles were ripped to shreds. He obviously tore his knuckles, punched again. There was blood. The hits were from the outside. And if he said he punched in the inside of the car, well, there's no evidence of that at all. The punches are from the outside. So the scene doesn't match. Now, they also have good luck. They have Todd describe this truck on the way to the hospital when he's in the police car. What did the truck look like that the pipe fell off of and flew forward through the air? And then he said it also bounced on the ground and then bounced up forward into his windshield.
He said it hit the ground first.
So, I mean, again,
which
that would
makes
it would make sense if he was behind the truck.
Yeah.
Because then it would just fly off behind and bounce and fly, and then you drive into it and then you would have that force.
Yeah.
But it's the way he's describing it with the angles and everything. The police knew it didn't make any sense. A farm had a camera on County M, and at 7:58 they see Todd's car go by, but never at any time after or before do they see any kind of a fucking truck
going the opposite
way or any way that would be what Todd described, or a truck carrying any kind of supplies or pipes or whatever.
Right.
Nothing. It's not on the video at all. So they're saying there was no truck, Ted. So they call Tad into the police headquarters. If you see this video, you'll say Tad is a fucking weirdo. Tad is bouncing around like he's on coke.
Yeah,
like he's at Studio 54 and he licked coke off of Grace Jones's body. That's what he did. His leg is literally bouncing up and down. He's shaking. And then he says, I didn't take my anxiety pills today. Well, what are anxiety pills for if you don't take them to go to the police office for an interview?
Yeah.
Why have them?
Right.
That's everybody. When we're interviewed by the police for killing someone, we take our anxiety pills. Why else do we have them, Todd? Why else?
Lorazepam, check.
We all have them for our police interviews.
Yes.
You forgot? Right, Todd. So he's like literally his leg is bouncing up and down a million. He looks like he's like on angel dust.
Yeah.
Coke, bath salts, something. Yeah. So he's stuttering, saying nonsense. So they ask him, they said, we talked to the friend you said that you were going to do the windshield for. And he says that's absolute horsecock shit. And Todd is like, in the podcast, Todd says, are you seeing I did this to my wife? He says it like that. And they're like,
actually, yeah.
Well, they were like, well, we were just saying, that your story isn't true.
You said you were going to this guy's house to fix his windshield and he doesn't know anything about it.
Right. And so then Todd he says, you seen none, I'm going to change my story. And they're like, well, we're just telling you that. So then he literally then changes his story.
Yeah.
He says, it was his friend, Dick Hertz. Yeah. Dick Hertz needed a new windshield. And then they're like, okay, we're going to call up Dick Hertz. Nope.
Surprise.
He says he's never even talked to you and doesn't know who you are. And then he makes up a third person.
Different people.
At the trial, they bring in the third person. The third person's like, I've never talked to
No.
this guy. I don't know what he's talking about.
No.
And in this interview at the police station, they also say, so this is what you do. You just drive around and fix windshields of people you don't know. You haven't talked to them and you don't know where they live. And Todd says, yes, that's what I do.
Yep. Okay, Todd.
What? At least he just said yes. I mean, I guess it's better than saying no.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I just drive around and fix windshields of people I don't know.
All right.
I've never talked to, and I don't know where they live.
Yeah. Do they have a windshield? I don't know. Is it broken?
That's
Maybe
what I do.
not. I don't know.
I mean, they're like, yeah, that's lucrative, huh? What the hell, Dad? Oh my God! So this guy is just like total, a weirdo. Again with the voice, his voice, but there's so much more weird wrong with him in his brain. So of course he's arrested, and they go to trial, and his defense people do a whole rigmarole of how the pipe could have went through and conked her on the back of the head.
But how?
Their whole act rigmarole they describe, and then when that guy,
because she was possessed by a poltergeist.
They said when he says it's a bird and punches the windshield, she ducks down and doesn't know she has her big ass 55-gallon drum coffee cup on her lap, so she hits her neck on it so hard she breaks her own cricoid on the cup, then is ducking her head, and so the pipe goes through and just shaves off the skin off the back of her head.
None of this makes sense.
Yep, none of that makes sense. So when the guy goes up to testify, the prosecutors start asking him questions about the shit-ass story.
Because he takes the stand.
Yes.
In his own defense.
Well, I mean, this is just the guy who is their glass guy.
Oh, the glass guy.
So that's making up the story that it could. Yeah, the expert. Yeah. And the prosecutor is asking him all these questions, and they realize the expert doesn't know his right from left, and his whole theory is based on a mistake he made based on the right side of the glass versus the left side of the glass. And so his whole theory is incorrect.
That was not in the 48 hours.
No,
either.
that was in the Minds of Madness.
Okay.
And so his whole theory is wrong because he got his right and left mixed up.
What a dumbass.
And so then the host of the Minds of Madness, so it was like a Perry Mason moment. So the guy's like, your whole theory doesn't make sense now. Not that it ever did, but it for sure doesn't now because you got the sides mixed up. And the guy just goes, oh, well, yeah. And then the host of Minds of Madness goes, can you imagine anybody that doesn't know their right from their left? And Jamie started scream laughing because I don't know my right from my left. Well. And I can't help it. I don't.
It doesn't come naturally to me. I have to think about
I do
it.
too. I mean, I don't know.
It's like a spatial disability for me, I think. Yeah.
I don't. Jamie just was laughing and like, oh my God, you're that person.
Yeah.
They're making fun of.
Yeah.
And he kept saying it the whole weekend.
But somebody's still a doctor.
Can you imagine someone not knowing their right from their left?
Did you kept saying, get out into the mosh pit in this bluegrass mosh pit, you nerd?
And I said, well, I got into Mensa.
Yeah. Shut up.
None of those people know their right from their left.
No.
They don't know how to put a wang into a puss.
No.
Or a wang into a something. None of them know how to do that. So the glass guy in the defense out.
Yeah.
So then, Taahd goes up there and tells his story. He also admits that he don't know where the people live. He does his windshield. He talks about the third guy, and then they bring up the third guy, and he said, I never talked to him at all. And they're like, ask him all these questions, and Todd just goes, I don't know. I don't recall.
He's like, I don't remember.
I don't know. And then they have him say things like, you said this. Doesn't that sound like really dumb? And he kind of is like, yeah, I guess. So the jury's out for 9 hours, which is a kind of a middle time, I would say. I would still think they decided quick, but
They got a
sometimes you're not sure.
sandwich
Yeah,
or
they did
some
get the meal.
drinks,
They were
yeah.
going to drink in a meal.
Yeah.
They weren't going to rush. They come back. It's guilty on everything. You know, it's and the jury said they felt he was Todd. It was Todd himself. Thought he was fucking weird and not believable. That jury guy, right? He himself was just. They didn't believe him.
Yeah.
But then everyone was sitting on Todd's side, rooting for him with this crazy ass story and him being this weird, obvious liar. Barb's side was empty during the trial. Not a soul on her side. No one. No one.
I know.
How sad.
Well, I think they just all thought it was an accident, right? And the cop was like, "Get your heads out of your asses."
Yeah, because it was so obviously
this is
not.
so bizarre.
But
this couldn't have really happened.
I don't know how much of the crime scene any of these people would have seen,
or even like how much is admissible too, because
Right.
half the stuff you can't talk about. But the whole thing, I can see the only problem for me was that there was no motive.
None.
Like that was the hardest part. Like it was so bizarre, and it was just like, of course he did it. Like whatever. The whole fucking pole iron rod in a windshield is bizarre. All the cuts on her face, nothing made sense. Like they said, obviously if her neck is broke cricoid, it's strangulation.
Yes.
And I mean, there were all these things, right? But they literally couldn't find a motive.
No,
neither of them were having an affair. Neither of them had ever had an affair. There was no money problems. He hadn't tried to.
He had a secret. He had something in that closet they didn't find. I swear to God, something was wrong. He had something that he was brewing.
It was just really.
All I think is either
weird.
Barb was getting pissed that he always was around.
And she was like, "Give me some space."
And
after
that is all
years.
I could think, that she maybe wanted like a divorce or a break or something.
I don't know. There was nothing that would indicate.
But otherwise,
that
absolutely,
happened.
there is nothing.
No,
unless he just
snapped,
or did, I don't know, or did something where and then it got worse, and he realized, and now I got to kill her.
There's so many weird things in this.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big ones for me, is just like, but why would he have done it? His whole story didn't make sense.
It has to be something that we still just don't know. That she found out and he had to hide it.
I don't know.
But if it's something that, I don't know, Todd, we're okay with whatever you have to tell us. You didn't have to do this to Barb. We see that you're different, and we're fine with it.
But now it's too late, because he even tried to get a new trial and they denied it.
Yep, he was working up an appeal, and the judges were like, "Fuck no."
Yeah,
this is nonsense.
This is too weird.
Yeah, your lies were ridiculous, and you clearly punched the windshield 3 times.
Yeah,
in a shit show panic.
I did find some pictures of it, so we'll try to put it on.
I mean, and his knuckles, his face. And then listen to the episode. It's new. Minds of Madness. It's a newer one. And when I'm sorry, but if you hear him talk, it's a high talk.
I'll have to go and listen to it now.
We're like, as I said, is this the husband? And Jamie said, no, it's a friend. And like, we're listening, and then we're like, no, that's Ted. We were unsure. His Wisconsin accent maybe makes it that way. I don't know. It's severe.
Okay. I'll go listen to it after I'm done with Very Scary People.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. I know.
I'm finishing
that one is so
it. And that was Sarah's Glitter in the Shitter a while.
So good.
2 weeks ago or something. So if you haven't listened to it, the season 3 is bonkers.
It is unbelievable. You can't believe it.
In so many ways. Like
everything.
Yeah. And I just, wow. So listen to that. We do have book club. If you're just listening, I don't know when this is going to drop, but
now I guess.
Yeah, I guess we're going to drop this, but Our book club's tonight, April 29th at 7:30 Central. And then for May, we're reading The Space Between Them by Lindsay
I started.
Campbell. You did.
I'm intrigued.
You have to order it from Amazon.
No, it's on Amazon Kindle. I mean, not Kindle.
No.
It's on the Amazon Unlimited.
Oh, Audible?
Unlimited. It's not on Audible, but it's on Amazon Unlimited.
I have
for free.
that. Oh.
Yeah.
Isn't that what I have?
No, well, where you pay and you get books.
Kindle? Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to pay for Amazon.
Yeah, I think I pay.
Yeah,
Amazon
then you just
Unlimited.
would get it for free.
Okay.
I mean, for free for pay.
Right, because I already paid
Yes.
it. Okay. Or get it from the library, but it's The Space Between Them, and we'll be talking about that one in May. So get that one out if you missed tonight, or if you missed it because we don't know when you'll be listening to this, because we were late because of the tornadoes that didn't happen.
Well, yeah, I didn't want Rory scared with you being here.
And I had my pajamas on after my weekend of dance competition.
I can imagine.
I just needed to go to bed. All right. So thanks for listening. Share us. Give us a rating, review. Tell your friends.
Please.
Yeah, join Patreon if you would like, and join our Facebook group. Okay, thanks. Bye. Yeah.